boredom done. I got the handout on. Okie dokie. So, what I want to start us off today with, like I said we were going to do yesterday, is we're reviewing, it's the activity that I'm going to have you do after reading Act 1, because Act 1's really important. It sets up the whole story, which we've, really beaten over 2 days. So, I think you get it. I think you're going to understand this assignment really well, but you have until Monday, so. So the review before the activity is, in this unit we looked at the purpose of Act 1, we looked at how it's got the hook, the character development, and that storyline development. However, that's both the setting and the conflicts and things like that. So then we also looked at breaking down our language barrier. We're looking at using the textbook more. We're looking at using resources like SparkNotes. And we're trying to pull stuff out of the reading, especially having already seen the play. Yes, Erin?
I did not know how to use SparkNotes. Like, I
can
tried.
show you.
Okay, because I tried it on my phone during third period, and I tried it on the computer yesterday at my house, and I didn't know how to use it.
Okay, I'll look at it with you. I can show all of you if you wanna. Do you wanna see it used once? Okay, so I'll show you all how to do that, because I think SparkNotes is nice. It's not an end-all, like, this is the perfect translation, and it's definitely lacking in emotion. Like, the way that you would read and then translate a particular passage might not be how SparkNotes would do it, because they're just trying to get to the raw, this is what they said, this is what we're thinking that they're saying, this is like the perfect idea, but it doesn't necessarily always carry that emotion. So it's not 100% reliable, but it's good if you're stuck reading and you're thinking, oh no, I don't know what I'm doing. So, I'll show you how to use that. Okay, so what I want you to do with these, and this is a lot of words, but there's also going to be a lot of pictures, so I want you to do like a Twitter, Snapchat, modern storytelling. So I want you to take a conversation or an entire, like if you have like a big long chat or like a talk and you want to like make that into tweets, break it up and make it into separate tweets, that's fine. I want you to do like 14 either back and forth or consecutive moments from a piece of the book that you find really important. I want you to really rip apart something where you were like, that's really interesting, or I didn't really get this and I really think that I should, it doesn't make any sense. So pick a section. I want you to have those sections ready for me tomorrow. Look through the book, find something, at least have what you're going to be working on this weekend. So I can say, yes, that's awesome, or are you sure, or this isn't going to be long enough. So, or this is maybe too long, who knows. So we'll look at those tomorrow. So think about what you want to be translating, think about what you want to be using. So because we're trying to break down and understand this version of writing, which is by no means modern or easy to understand the conversations and help build a better idea of the storyline, I want you all as an individuals, so not in partners, I want you to do it separately, to take a section of communication and make 14 back and forth tweets or snaps about the encounter. You're not limited to involved characters, and you're not limited to involved characters. What does that mean? What do I want that to mean?
The main characters, maybe? So you can use secondary characters.
Maybe main characters. We keep reading it so it makes more sense. And you can use more than 14 communications. So 14 is like your bare minimum bottom line. And I think that what I wanted to say there was, if someone is not, well, like they have to be present, but if someone doesn't say something but they definitely have emotions going on in the background, I'm fine with you adding in parts to make sure that the storyline that you're trying to present makes sense. Okay. So, I want this interaction to be done within a scene and not a retelling. So I want you to really break apart, not just like a retelling of what happened. I don't want it to be an exact translation. I don't want you to look at SparkNotes and say, okay, this is what they're saying. Perfect. I will just reenact exactly what they're saying. Because that's not really getting into that emotional piece, because SparkNotes doesn't have that. So I want you to find a way to really creatively use emojis and use hashtags and tagging other characters or whatever, as I'll show you in a minute. Like really push yourself to find a deeper connection, because we've talked about and beat the dead horse with the maids, the maid, the mom, and Juliet. So that's the scene I took, because I want you to find something different. But I want you to really look at a conversation. Like if you're doing Benvolio and Romeo, we know that they're cousins, but we also know that they've got a deeper connection. So So how can you show that in a modern way? How can you really demonstrate, instead of just having Romeo say, I'm so sad, and Benvolio saying, you need to get over it, you could have Romeo say, honestly, dude, she's really, really pretty, like you have no idea, and then you could have Benvolio say something much, much more.
Just like, when I was listening to it, I just automatically changed it into what they would be saying now. So
Good.
I just like do that.
Yeah, start there, but make sure that you're still conveying an emotional point. So it's not just like an exact translation of 14 lines. I want you to make sure to keep that emotion in there. Because there's specific ways, there's specific words that Shakespeare would use, not just to get iambic pentameter, but also to make sure that you're getting a tone and an emotion out of the piece. You looked at that a lot with Poe, and how his word choice is kind of creepy and trusting your narrator and things like that. So I want you to really consider what your word choices are going to be. And they can be really modern, but even a modern choice, you can still get a different emotion depending on the word you choose. So another aspect to consider before you select just a gigantic chunk of text is that Snapchat and Twitter have word limitations. Twitter only lets you use 140 characters, which includes like spaces, and Snapchat only lets you fill up the bar on the screen. So before you say, I'm gonna just translate all of Mercutio's whole Queen Mab thing, I think that's great, I'm gonna do the whole thing. Maybe take a chunk of it. Consider what would make sense and make sure that that's something that's going to be meaningful as part of the text. Make sure that there's an emotional relevance to it also. So you've got to consider that when you're looking at your pieces, because if you're doing something where they're having long bouts of whining conversation, or if they're having all sorts of very deep emotional pieces, then maybe it'll take more than one snap or more than one tweet to get that whole entire section across. So what I did, I'll show you the examples that I did of these, because I did some examples. So I did the scene that we've been breaking down forever. So I started out with, oh, it's really dark. I wanted it to be a little bit less dark. You can't see him.
Have my chair.
Huh?
Have my chair.
Yeah. I'll shut this too and see if that doesn't bring it up. It's really, really dark, I'm sorry. So this is my little bossy bear that I have at home. And I was looking around my room thinking, okay, what can I use in a Snapchat to represent Lady Capulet? Yes. I was thinking about doing myself and putting on makeup and doing all sorts of stuff, and I was like, I really don't want to try to juggle that right now. You are totally willing. If you want to dress up and like snap some pictures of yourself, do it. That's awesome. I just didn't feel like it, so I picked Bossy Bear to be, because she's got there's like a little cape on and like a little crown, because she's the head of the house. So it says, nurse, where's Juliet? Bring her. I also thought that this blank staring expression really fit the emotionless mother. So,
Can I push something?
thank you. So you can see how it's almost like it's still a better picture on here than it is on the screen, and I'm super sorry. So then for my nurse, she says, nurse, where's Juliet? Bring her. I picked my Snorlax because I thought that was a nice big fat rolly, silly looking nurse. And I said, I promised my virtue. I called for her. So this is the nurse swinging in. So I put a little like nervous sweat drop, like, oh no, I'm anxious. And the mom is like, are you serious? Like this lady, this nurse right here. So then she goes, Juliet, where are you, girl? And I used definitely some drawing skills to make sure that she looked like she was mad and yelling for Juliet. So where you at, girl? I specifically picked some of the language I used with her because she's a little dopier. We figured that out. So when you look at someone dopey, I would never have an abbreviated U for Lady Capulet. She wouldn't do something like that. But the nurse, my bets are on she would. So what is it? Who called? So I pulled, so you really can't see Juliet. She's a little black cat, fluffy pup, like she's a little black cat thing. She's adorable. Gigi from Kiki's Delivery Service, technically. But anyway, so this particular cat had a lot of options for emotions. I could draw emotions on this face, so I thought if I was going to use someone as emotion-filled as Juliet, this is a perfect representation of her. of the things that I have access to. I don't want you to go out and like buy a ton of stuff. I just want this to be a fun creation where you're showing me and demonstrating to me that you're picking up what I'm putting down.
I'm glad I have sisters.
Who called for me? Your mom. So little Nurse leaning in, using some slang because she doesn't care about anything. So then, Juliet, I have news. Nurse, leave us. You can see the three of them are hanging out together. And then the nurse waddles away. She's like, whatever, I don't need to be here. Actually, come back and listen to this. And Juliet's kind of confused. She's like, what's going on? You know my Juliet, oh look, I got a good picture. So, you know my Juliet is a beautiful girl now. So you can see how all of them are hanging out. I know her age right down to the hour. She's 13, and this is when she starts going off on her little rampage, and I've always known her. So she's got little blushy cheeks because she likes her Juliet. She's super happy to talk about her, and she's got little hearts because Juliet's her favorite. And then here's the creepy, like, mother leaning in. She's, like, still there, like, what are you doing, you nutcase? She is not yet 14. Oh my God. It's like perfect. It is. Yes, I could count on my 14 teeth, and Juliet's still hanging out. Like, Juliet's in the scene, doesn't say anything. So I think that it was important to start bringing her some emotion, which was difficult. But I only have 4. so it says, yes, I could count her on my 14 teeth, but I only have 4. She actually only has 2, and I almost played into the 2 that she had, but I was like, no, I'm going to stick with what they said. So it's up to creative interpretation. I know that you ladies will have fun with this. So how long until Lamastide and her birthday? Because Lamastide is right in that Cancer opening in astrology. So Lamastide is in that Cancer time, which is about when Juliet's birthday is, which is why she asks when the festival is. Because how long is it till she turns 14? That's what she's asking. So instead of writing birthday because it wouldn't fit, I used a little cake. So you can use emojis. So I tried to throw one of those in there. And you can use stickers and make it bigger, and you can use all sorts of like fun different ways.
I don't use this.
There's also Twitter. I can show you how.
I don't go on.
And then like make them like find food that I think represents them and like use it. And I think should be Cheetah Puffs.
And that's as long as I'm gonna also have you write a paper justifying it too. So I want you, it's only 1 page, but I just want you to be able to say, so the reason I chose Snorlax for my nurse is because Snorlax looks kind of dopey, and the nurse is kind of dopey, and she's also kind of round and snuggly and lovable, which is what the nurse is. And I want to make sure that when I'm using the nurse that I'm showing her affections and deep love for Juliet. And then I picked Bossy Bear because Bossy Bear has like the Queen K crown on, like Lady Capulet would, and a blank staring expression that is kind of disturbing, which is just about how Lady Capulet deals with her daughter. And then I picked my Kiki cat because I can draw more emotions on that face. I want to make sure that if Juliet is in a scene where she's got like a very confused emotion or really judgmental or she's in love, that I have flexibility. So these are the characters that I specifically chose because I know what I'm trying to pull out. That's what I want to see in your paper.
So we're not allowed to use any other people for this, like as props?
Yeah, you can. Oh, absolutely. I picked these 3 things because I'm alone in my house and I can't pose my fish. So if I had dogs, I would sit my dogs down and be like, you're Lady Capulet, and wrap it in a scarf and be like, now look judgmental. But I don't. So use your resources. I just grabbed what I had around me. If you've got people around you, you can use them. But you each have to submit your own individual project. So if you want to use the 3 of each other, that's fine. But each of you has to use your own interpretation when you're creating something like this.
I already know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Good. Okay,
This
good.
is gonna be super fun.
I think so too. I had fun. And I did this in about 10 minutes. So use some creative judgment, but it doesn't have to go out of this world. You have freedom. You have the weekend to sit down with your text, translate it, see what you want it to say, and then create it with what you have around you, whatever that looks
I
like.
went to like do the whole play if I started doing a few parts. I just like, oh wait, just gotta do it.
Well, that's why I'm having you take me the part of the play you want tomorrow. Pick something and stick with it. So. And then, Erin, you're not on Google Docs, but the other 3 of you are.
For what?
So over the weekend, I hope that you'll either present this to me on Google Docs or something, or like email me. I'll show you. I will give you a demonstration because I know that you're not in that class. But you can, I made this PowerPoint on Google Documents, and you can share it with me, and then I can see it, or I can give you feedback, or you can wait and not share it with me until the day off, or whatever you want to do. But if you want to just send it to me on Google Docs, you don't have to print anything. Just make sure that your paper, that your page link paper is in there somehow, your description, even if it's in slide form, which is fine. So, okay. Anyway, so here's my last pictures of Juliet. I drew a little face on her, like, oh no, I don't know what's happening. This can't be good. So, anxious Juliet kind of watching her mom and the nurse go through all of this. If I could go back and do it again, I would include more retrospective thought. I would include more Juliet having emotional moments. But I looked back on it and thought about it. So you have the weekend. So keep working over it. Keep working on it over the weekend. Look at it, review it, make sure that it is what you want to present it as. Okay, so this is what Twitter might look like. I only had my picture up there, and I couldn't get it to change on my computer. So I highly recommend that you change the picture, your little emoji, if you have a Twitter, to be different faces while you're typing this, so that you know that mom has a particular face, and the nurse has a particular face, and Juliet has a particular face, or Romeo has a particular face, whatever you want to do. Make sure that it means something. But this is like an easy little box. If you don't have Twitter, if you don't want to use a Twitter, you can create it on a Word document. Just draw a text box and make the outline black and fill in. Make sure that you're only using 140 characters as you're doing this. So this is the 140 characters. I can't tweet anything because there's nothing written. But you can add your place, your emotions, and pictures and anything like that, and then I've got my picture, and then it just says tweet. But anyway, so if I was going
three dots at the top?
These, this is my X button, woo, my shrink button, and my expand button. So if I wanted to expand it, those are just options on the computer for a window, because it's its own window. So I said here, mom, add nurse, because she's talking to the nurse. Where is my Juliet? Call her for me, hashtag do your job, hashtag not my problem. Because that's how she feels about Juliet. So then the nurse might reply, oh, well, I did call for her, at Juliet Capulet. Get in here, hashtag this child, hashtag spare me, hashtag honestly. So you can see how you can have fun with it. Use emojis, use some pictures. You can even tweet with pictures if you want to throw in a picture, if you want to do the Twitter version instead. But if you don't want to run around and take pictures all weekend and you just have a Word document, you still have the opportunity to create tweets back and forth between characters. So,
When is this due? Monday?
Monday. So tomorrow I want you to come in with this particular sheet. I put this on the wrong document. I put this on my bell ringer section. So I'm going to make a slideshow that I'm going to share with all of you on Google Docs so you can come back and review all of these. Does that make sense? So if you're home over the weekend and you want to look through, you have internet or whatever, if you can get to the internet, you can look through all of it and review, and that's where all the instructions are going to be. Okay. So then so with that, along with the presentation, I want this page that explains how to use the media to expand your understanding of Act 1 of the play. So please have this typed, double-spaced, with a title and properly indented paragraphs. I'm not asking you to use MLA citations, but I want it to have Times New Roman 12 font with the title and paragraphs that are properly indented. I'm not asking too much. So this should help me to see what elements you use to show your relationships to characters, character development, rising action in the story, things like that. So your presentation of either tweets or snaps can be electronically submitted through Google Drive to my email or printed out. If something happens and you just want it printed, you'd rather work with a printed version, that's what feels better to you, you want a solid copy, then you may print it too. I don't care, you can do both, either or. So everything should be in one document if you choose to submit it through Google Drive. So you'll have both the pictures and the explanation paragraph. I don't care which comes first or second, but I want to be able to look at your explanation paragraph and say, oh, so Miss Capulet's a bag of Cheetos because something.
A bag of Cheetos.
Yes.
Wouldn't it be 3, 7, 16?
Yeah, 16. I'm still.
And that's
Christmas
my
was
birthday.
yesterday, okay?
That's my birthday.
Happy birthday, you're not getting an extension. So, oh man, so, does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions?
Hey, I'll bring people's birthdays. Say happy birthday.
How tolling. Stop
Who's the
being
third
born.
one?
Kyla.
Stop being born.
Stop it.
Kyla. My birthday's in July.
I'm in November.
Mine's in March.
We're only a year and a day old. I'm like only a year and
You're
a
2
day
years
old.
older than me.
Am I 2 years old?
You're 6.
Okay.
Alright, no questions? You're feeling pretty good about it? Okay, so I'm going to get this shared to you, Erin. I'm gonna show you how to use Google Documents, and I'm gonna show you how to use Spark Notes. Oh, I'm gonna show all of you how to use Spark Notes. Never mind, I forgot I was gonna do that.
How did you do the tweets?
So the tweets on my Mac, I can take a screenshot of a particular section of my, of my screen. I can like choose a section. So I just dragged this corner, I dragged a picture over it. I dragged it and clicked it, and it automatically takes a picture and turns it into a picture format. Yeah. Do you have that opportunity? Because if you don't, you can create it on Word. You can just have a template that you keep
Do you have Twitter?
creating.
I think I have one, but I haven't been on it in a while. Same. So I can
I have one.
I
But
usually
I've
never
got
use my Twitter, which is why I was like, I should, whatever.
this weekend.
I have 2.
I want to do Snapchat though.
But yeah, if you want to either, I can show, I'm trying to think of how to do this, because I can do it really quickly on my computer, but I don't know if you have that access. Do you have a snipping tool on Windows now?
Mm-hmm.
Would you be willing to show Melissa how to do that? Because I have a Mac, so I'm not used to that option. Okay.
I know how to use Snipping too.
Oh, you do? Okay. Okay. All right, let's see here. Let's go to Spark Notes.
My birthday is what picture should I use?
I know what I'm gonna do.
It's gonna be funny.
Turn on some lights here because I hate working in absolute darkness.
I'm just about to sleep.
Exactly. No. And the mouse doesn't work at all. There it goes. Okay. Okay, so if you go on to Spark Notes, this is
I'm gonna see. Can I go on my phone and see if I can?
sure you can follow along on your phone. That's fine.
Get your Voldemort on with your full cracks, please.
I think those are ads and I don't trust them. So open that up too.
It's just sparknotes.com.
Oh my god.
Hold on. Okay, a little bit better. Sorry.
Is it this one?
Yes, yep, you got the Spark Notes up in the top corner here. So. Spark Notes, so we're looking for Romeo and Juliet. So when you type in Romeo and Juliet in the search bar, you get this kind of, this looks like it could be ads, so be careful. So make sure that you go to this particular font, like these two things are ads that are trying to get you to click and buy something, I think on, I don't know. Don't click on those two. There's like star ratings, they're like asking you to buy a book of Romeo or tickets, I guess. And a summary of the, don't click on those. So here's this No Fear Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet. No Fear Shakespeare is where we want to be. So when you open this up, you see this flower picture, which is good, that's where it's supposed to be. And when you go through, you can see there's the table of contents as characters, there's the prologue, there's Act 1, 2, 3, 5, not 4, I don't know where 4 is. 2, 3, 4, oh, and 5, there we go, okay, so they're all there. So like, let's say we were looking at Act 1, Scene 3, because we've been looking at that a ton. So once you open it up, once you have No Fear Shakespeare open, and as soon as you get that, you can click on the act and the scene that you want to look at, which is fantastic, and you've got this exact word for word, who calls your mother? Madame, I'm here, what is your will? So what is it? Who's calling me? Your mother. Ma'am, I'm here, what do you want? What do you want? So you can see that that's as easy as it gets. Are you finding this on your phone?
Yes.
It's not on there?
I got mine.
It's weird.
Oh,
ever want to, Mr. Cook loaned me this, and I've got this No Fear Shakespeare Romeo and Juliet. So this is the exact same thing in the book format.
Act 1, Scene 1, or Act 1, Scene 2?
We're looking at Act 1, Scene 3 in this particular one, but you can just see how it's got the original text and the modern text, and you can go all the way through, and it's got all the, you can either go to Act 1, Scene 3, page 2, or if you think, oh no, I'm in the wrong section, you've got all of your options right here for you. Does that make sense?
Okay. I must have clicked on one of the ad videos, probably, because it just went to like YouTube or something like that, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Where's the page at?
Click on Henry.
So do you feel comfortable so far? If you have any questions tomorrow, you can still ask. I'm gonna set you up with Gmail and.
I have a Gmail.
You do? Perfect. Okay, so we're gonna get you on your Gmail and on Google Docs, and then I will share with all 4 of you my PowerPoint.
You want me to get on Gmail right here? Or?
No, we'll go onto the computer, so then we can start up on vocab now because you need a ton of vocab time, and I keep talking through the whole class, so.
I got it.
Okay.
We'll have like, we've got about 15 minutes to get out.
Well, that's 15 minutes worth of vocab.